Alright, screw it. Let's look at the worst game of 2023. Or is it? Skull Island Rise of Kong is an action-adventure game based on the King Kong series. Published by Game Mill and developed by Iguanabee, the studio famous for, G.I. Joe Operation Blackout? Huh? You might have seen a couple of viral moments for this game floating around online, with folks going for its throat just because it committed the teensy tiny little crime of having a cutscene with a static JPEG in it. Hey, it could be worse, at least it's not WebP. It's gotten to the point where people and even some gaming publications have declared this to be the worst new title of the year. Come on, surely it can't be that bad. You play as an ape! Well, I've gone on record in the past stating my love for crappy licensed games, and I can handle some jank. So I was curious if this is genuinely as bad as people are saying it is, or if they're all just reacting to the awful graphics and shitty cutscenes. So I decided to waste just a few more hours of my life to find out. And money. I also wasted money. Please like and subscribe. Oh, and spoiler alert, I don't make a ton of progress before giving up. Full disclosure, I went with the Switch version because might as well be as uncharitable to this thing as possible, right? The title screen is flickering. Rise of Kong begins in an extremely linear tutorial area that I still kept getting lost in. You play as a Kong who can run, jump, destroy stuff, climb. The camera moves so slowly and you can't adjust it in the options, my god. Funny enough, this tutorial features a pretty big error. It says to press and hold down on the left stick to run, but that's not correct. You only have to tap it once, no holding required. Which isn't a big deal or anything, I actually prefer it this way. But for some reason you can't tap a second time to go back to walking. You have to completely stop moving if you want to cancel the run. That's actually a consistent issue with these controls. In addition to there being quite a bit of lag in general, there are several moves that force you to stop and stay perfectly still in order to execute them. You have to stop in order to go from running to walking, stop to throw a rock, stop to do this extra high big boy jump, stop to do certain attacks. It's tedious. Funny enough, one of the only moves that actually feels pretty good is a damn dodge roll. There's a dodge roll in this, which is great because I very quickly decided to just avoid combat as much as possible. Why bother when it isn't fun and you don't get anything for doing it most of the time? That's probably not a good sign. The tutorial area culminates in a confrontation with Gaw. Hey, that's the guy from the JPEG. When I got to him and realized that he was a damage sponge, I was like, oh Christ, here we go. And the low health heartbeat sound effect never stops, by the way. Oh yeah, no, this isn't distracting as I'm fighting for my life. But I was surprised to see that when I eventually did die, it actually triggered a cutscene. Turns out this tutorial has been a flashback and I've been controlling one of King Kong's guardians all along. At this point in the story, the real king is a baby who is witnessing the murder of his parents. Not gonna lie, I like this a lot. It's a genuinely bold storytelling move to learn that I've been controlling a corpse for the last 20 minutes. And it actually does make Gaw feel like a more menacing personal threat. This is the first and last interesting idea that this game has. From here, you take control of the King Kong, and the game truly begins. Right away, I noticed something. I wasn't able to do my big boy jump anymore, and the same was true for some attacks. Oh god, no, please don't tell me. Oh, the bastards, they're actually doing the Super Metroid thing. After the tutorial, you lose a handful of your abilities and have to earn them back as you play. Which, I don't know how I feel about this mechanic in what's more of an action platformer than a Metroidvania. I guess it could work, but the problem is that this game doesn't execute the idea well. Believe it or not. Like at one point I found a main objective and got a skill point for winning. Yeah, there are skill points by the way. So of course I kept walking forward from there. Then I struggled to climb up a small series of cliffs because the controls are bad and the camera's worse. And when I finally made it to the top, oh no, I needed to learn the hold heavy attack to destroy this debris. Guess I was going the wrong way. Fuck you. So anyway, while I didn't play beyond this level, I did spend about an hour and a half in it, and I watched some other people's footage, so I think I've seen enough to describe the general gameplay loop. Each level has a series of main objectives to work through, as well as a boss. You can find where to go by roaring. See, when you hit the roar button, some white squiggles will point you in the direction of a challenge. Oh, and get this, sometimes you'll roar but won't see any squiggles because you're not directly facing a challenge. No, you have to be pointing right at it, and you can't be too far away from it either. Otherwise, sorry, keep roaring, I guess. Also, there's a map, but unless I'm missing something, there's no icon to see where you are on the map. I don't even have a joke for that. It's infuriating. All the environments look the same. It's impossible not to get lost. So I mostly got around by just running around aimlessly until stumbling into something by chance, which is how I managed to spend about 2 hours in a level that only has 6 main objectives and a boss. Also, there are collectible trinkets scattered around to look for, and no, I did not. Pretty much all of these objectives, by the way, are just walled-in enemy encounters, thereby forcing you into combat. But I already said I don't want to. Combat was already boring, but it's even worse when several of your moves have been taken away from you. Why? That isn't just me quoting the president. That's how I was playing this game for the majority of the time, because the attack map to the Y button is the only fast one. It is boring, so boring. Why? Let's take a moment to damn this thing with some faint praise before continuing. I think running as an ape is kind of fun here. It sucks that the game is hell-bent on stopping you every 5 seconds, but when you are able to just run, I think it's kind of cool. There were a couple times where I was actually reminded of Sonic Frontiers. I wasn't really big into that game either. It's not bad or anything, and it's certainly better than this. But my favorite moments there were when I was able to just go fast in the empty wastelands without being forced into 2D sections or Tetris puzzles or whatever. And yeah, funny enough, the same is true here. There's something tranquil about being able to shut off your brain and sprint as a gorilla. I like that. I think the world could use more fast-paced ape platformers. On the other hand, the world could very much do without games as ugly as this one. While they're not the most important thing, I do think graphics matter more than some people, especially some Nintendo fans, care to admit, and I think that this might actually be the single ugliest game I have ever seen beyond the PS2 GameCube era. It is insane how empty, how lifeless and drab a game can look while also running so poorly. How does this still run poorly? Anytime you step into water, this 1-inch discoloration enters the bottom of the screen. These worm penis enemies move like they're stop motion animated. What's ironic is that they could have easily gone in the opposite direction. You know, intentionally downscale things to nostalgically make it look like an old licensed PS2 game. I think people would have liked that. But instead we get this terrible thing that clearly was not supposed to turn out this way. Oh, and yes, the cutscenes really are as bad as they look in the memes. Hey, the loading screen art is good. I mean, it's fine, relatively speaking at least. You know, that's something. But as I said, I gave up pretty early on, and I'll show you the exact moment when I did. See, I was fighting the first non-Gaw boss, another one of those worm guys, but big now, getting killed over and over again because it was taking too long and I was getting impatient. Finally, after so many attempts, this happened. And that was enough for me. At the end of the day, Skull Island Rise of Kong isn't a horrible game because of its cutscenes or graphics, though those things do not help its case. It's a horrible game because it's a broken, buggy, empty mess that should not have been released. Ever. I don't think this thing could have ever been salvaged enough to say otherwise. It is embarrassing. I regret buying it, which I justified by telling myself that, oh, I could judge it for myself, and oh, I can make a video about it, so it'll be worth it. It wasn't. I decided to get this instead of spending the money on Blasphemous 2. What is my problem? At the end of the day, I'll say what I said months ago about a different game. Do not buy this, at least not for 40 American dollars. Do not buy it for the meme. Do not waste your hard-earned money on a product that's this poorly made. Please believe me, you will regret it. I don't even take pleasure crapping on it, and I do feel bad for the devs. Honestly, I'm sure they were commissioned to make it in 6 months and paid in pocket change. But it is what it is. Speaking of which, the only question left to answer is this really the worst game of 2023? I mean, I don't know. I can't afford to try every piece of crap that comes out. What about the Gollum game? What about Redfall? What about Super Mario Wonder? Somebody's gonna believe that last one was serious. No, I'm not gonna clarify that it was a joke. Let that hypothetical person hate me. Alright, goodbye.